Welcome to the Great Credit Freeze of 2018. My name is Todd Christensen. I am Education Manager at MoneyFit by DRS, a nonprofit credit counseling agency. Also author of Everyday Money for Everyday People. I'm glad you're here. We're talking about the Great Credit Freeze, the opportunity to freeze your credit that was given to us in a 2018 federal law. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's get into the basics. This was granted during the through the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act of 2018. It was signed in May of 2018, went into effect very soon thereafter in September of 2018. This law provides some pretty good, I was going to say nifty, but I might as well. It's pretty nifty protections for us as consumers. One, it prohibits, if you freeze your credit report, first of all, it allows you to freeze your credit reports, which prohibits all credit pulls for new account purposes. It's free. No fees. You can do it temporarily. You can do it permanently. That means temporarily. You can say, okay, I want this frozen until, and you identify a date that you want it thawed. Or vice versa, you thaw it and then you say, okay, I want it to refreeze in 3 days or 4 days. For example, if you're applying for a loan and you know that they're going to check your credit report during those few days, and then it can freeze again later. It is unlimited. You can freeze this. You can thaw it as many times as you want for free. That's great. It used to charge, some states had it to the credit bureaus or consumer reporting agencies to offer this for free before the law. Most were charged anywhere from $6 to $10 per freeze or per thaw. So this is great. And then here's the thing: your credit is still active. It's still working in the background. You're still building credit. You're still using your credit card. It does not shut down your ability to use credit or build credit. Who's eligible? Adults with a credit history can get their credit report, have their credit report frozen or thawed many times they want. So if you have a credit report, you can take advantage of this law. But here's the great thing. If you have minors in your home up to 16 years old, let's say you have a 14 or a 12-year-old, you can freeze their report. Why would you do that? They are too young to get credit. Yes, legally. That does not stop credit or identity thieves. Family members as well. If you have, that's unfortunately is the truth, that family members are more likely to steal your child's identity than anybody else. By freezing their by freezing their credit report, you prevent them from having to deal with the situation where they turn 18 or 20 and they get their first loan or moving into their first apartment, and the company wants to, or the organization, lender wants to check their credit, and they find out, hey, why you have a terrible credit score. You have 12 different accounts on there. They're all past due. How does that work? Well, because somebody stole your identity, and you don't want that happening to your children. So you can protect their identity, protect their credit by freezing it until they can unfreeze it themselves starting about age 16. Typically, if they're living in your home, you want it frozen until they are ready for credit. To be honest, most, even young adults, most adults, I could say that, if 2/3 of adult credit card holders are carrying a balance on their credit cards, I can easily say the majority of young adults are really not ready for credit either. Okay, and then you can you can freeze the reports of protected adults in your care legally. So if you have a guardianship, that you have a legal paperwork that you're taking care of, a parent or an aunt or another senior in your life, in your home, you can take care of them as well and freeze their credit. Here's the process. Okay. For yourself, really simple. You just go to the consumer reporting agency you're going to have to go to all three, each of the three individually: Experian, TransUnion, and alphabetically. Equifax, Experian, TransUnion.com at the end of each of those. And right on the home page, you just do a search for freeze. Some of them have a freeze, call it a freeze center or a freeze, whatever. And then you just fill out the information online. Really simple. Fill it out. It takes 5 minutes. You're going to generate a PIN or a passcode or password while you're doing this. That's required. It's required. But then you just submit it online. If you want, you can print it out and mail it. Why subject yourself to additional potential identity theft by putting your Social Security number on a piece of paper and throwing it out into the world in mail? Just do it online. It's safe. So here you can see all three of the credit bureaus there, or the consumer reporting agencies. Pretty straightforward. It's going to ask for your name, Social Security number, date of birth, an email. Where do you want the information sent? And then it's going to ask you for a PIN or a passcode, and it's going to ask you for your address as well. Okay, here you go. Equifax.com/personal/credit-report-services/credit-freeze. I just look up Equifax.com freeze credit, and it'll bring up this link. Experian.com/freeze/center.html. These are subject to change if they're no longer. I mean, the consumer reporting agencies may change these links anytime they want, but they should have it pretty easily. TransUnion has probably the easiest one, TransUnion.com/credit-freeze, and it'll take you to the homepage where you can start filling out that paperwork. Now, if you want to do this for others, whether it's minors or protected adults, you can still fill it out online, but you can't submit it online. You do have to print off that application and mail it with documents proving you are legally responsible for that minor or for the protected adult. For minors, it's going to include a copy of their typically birth certificate, something along those lines. For protected adults, a copy of the legal document that makes you legal guardian of that individual. All right, let's go over some FAQs. This is going to be really quick and easy. But does a credit freeze hurt your credit score? No. No effect on your credit. You can freeze it, thaw it as many times as you want. No impact at all on your FICO score or your Vantage score at all. Can I refreeze my credit for free? Yes. You can. You can freeze it. You can thaw it. You can refreeze it. You can thaw it again, refreeze, blah, 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 as many times as you want. All free. Can I still use my credit cards if my credit is frozen? Absolutely. Although I would always recommend that you be judicious in your use of credit cards and pay them off in full every time. It does not affect your open accounts. You're still using and still paying on your credit cards, on your home loan, or if you have a car loan, so forth. Can I build my credit with a freeze on my account? Yes. As long as you're making payments, those payments are getting reported to your credit history or credit report, and those are building your credit. Does a freeze guarantee that my identity is safe? Yeah, no, unfortunately. Is it one of the best ways to protect your identity? Yes. But as I mentioned, there's potential that somebody in another state is using your identity for things off your credit report, like opening up or getting a job in your name, or purchasing a handgun with your Social Security number, or getting into an apartment with your name and Social Security number, or giving a police officer your name and a fake ID with your name on it if you get pulled over. There's a lot of things that identity thieves can do in your name that are off your credit report, but a freeze is one of the best things you can do to protect yourself. Is a credit freeze the same as a fraud alert? No. Fraud alert And now there was some changes based on that 2018 law. Previously, a fraud alert would be on your credit report for 3 months. I think it's now 12 months. But what a fraud alert does, it basically it tells the potential prospective lender, do more due diligence. This person suspects that they may be a victim of fraud now or in the future, so please ask for more information. Well, guess what? If an identity thief already has your social security number and your phone number and your date of birth and your birthday and your name and your address, asking them for more information really isn't that big of a deal. So fraud alerts, don't count on them being super helpful. They can catch some things, but a freeze really is a really positive thing you can do to protect your identity. Do I need a password or PIN to remove a freeze? Absolutely, you do. So when you're creating your freeze for the first time, you're freezing your credit for the first time, it's going to ask you to create a PIN or a passcode. Make note of it. Keep it safe. Don't share it with your cousin or with your aunt or with your uncle, with your grandma, with your parents. Don't share it with anybody that you cannot 100% trust. If there's a potential at all that you think a family or a spouse, you might be going through divorce in the next few months or next couple of years, don't share it. Don't share it. You don't want anybody having access to your credit report. And with that PIN or passcode, they're going to have access. Now, what if you forget it? You can reset it. So they're going to use the email address that you use to open up that account and freeze your report for the first time. So there's another passcode you want to protect, is that email address. And you don't want to use just any email address. You want to make sure that when you use an email address, you're going to use that email address for the rest of your life. Make it one of those permanent emails. If you are one to keep changing things, be aware that you might be up against some big hassle if you don't have access to that email address anymore and you want to reset your password or PIN. Can I freeze the credit of my aging parents? Maybe. Having a power of attorney is not enough. That is not good enough. A lot of people say, well, my parents gave me power of attorney, or I am the executor of their will. That means zilch. Sorry. If you want to freeze their credit report, you have to have legal documentation that gives you that ability to make all those sorts of decisions for them. You have to be able to prove that document. So it's not a power of attorney is not going to do it. Can I still get a home loan? Absolutely. My wife and I have done this ourselves. Here's what you do. When you're getting ready to apply for a home loan, you just go through the process and you ask them, which credit bureaus do you check our credit with? And typically home lenders will check all three. You just get on to those, go back to those credit bureaus, and you thaw your credit report for 3 days or 4 days. And you let the lender know, okay, I'm going to thaw it for 3 days or 4 days. You check my credit in the next couple of days, and then it just automatically refreezes if you set that date. It's so easy. You don't just set it and forget it. It's great. Is a credit freeze the same as a credit block? No, yes. No, yes. No. It does the same thing. A credit block, one of the consumer reporting agencies calls one of their services a credit block, and it's available through a phone app that they offer. And usually you're going to have to sign up for a service, and there might be a fee with that. It makes the credit block, it's just like the credit freeze, except it's on your phone app, and it's really easy to freeze, thaw at the tap of a button on your phone. So it does the same thing, but it does not replace credit freeze in that the credit freeze is still available to you if you don't want to sign up for that app, if you don't want to pay anything extra for it. But it's if it's something that you want to do for the convenience, it's there for you. Does a credit freeze stop junk mail? No. You'll need to go online, type in pre-screen opt-out, or opt-out pre-screen. And it'll bring up the website where you do that. You'll opt out, and you can opt out for a year or 5 years, I think. If you want to do it permanently, you go through the process online, and it'll give you an address, and you have to mail it in to get out of junk mail permanently. But it does work. It does not opt you out of pre-screen offers from banks, lenders that you already have a loan with or you had a loan with already. They can still send you offers. But insurance companies that you have never used before and lenders that you've never used before, they're going to stop sending you stuff pretty much immediately. It really does work, and that's really it's a positive thing you can do to protect your identity. Think about it: if you've got a pre-screened credit card offer in the mail, and a flagger comes along, that's the name that's what you call people who go through and steal people's mail because they see the flag that's up. They're looking for checks that they can cash fraudulently, and if they see a credit card offer in the mail, they can fill it out, put in a different address, open up an account, but it's tied to your credit, and so you do want to stop junk mail from coming to your account, coming to your mailbox. If you found something of interest or helpful in today's webinar, please like this webinar. We appreciate that. It helps get the word out, helps YouTube recognize that this is a webinar worthy of sharing with others, and it will show up in other people's feeds. And then we invite you, please do subscribe to us so that we can let you know of other high value webinars coming up. We do this every Thursday, midday. We'll release another webinar, and they're always 30 minutes or less. Always good information, very practical, and do share this with family and friends. If you would like a certificate of completion, go to moneyfit.org/live. It's going to ask you for your name, how you want it listed on your certificate, what email address do you want it sent to, and then you have to enter in this passcode, ICE 2020 COLD, ICE2020 COLD. No capital letters, no spaces, no dashes, no dots. ICE 2020 COLD. And hit submit. You'll have the certificate in your inbox within a matter of a couple of minutes. If there's anything that I can answer for you, any questions, any concerns, any struggles that you're facing financially, please do feel free to reach out by email or by phone. My contact information is there. If it's something that we can't help with, I promise I will find somebody or find a resource for you. Do my best to find somebody that can help you out. That's why we're here as a nonprofit, is to provide resources and services to our communities, whether that's here locally where I'm at or across the country. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.